Joining me right now is Senator Tom Cotton, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee and Senate Intelligence Committee. Senator from Arkansas. Senator, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
Well, we showed some video of Joe Biden on the world stage this week. He appeared lost and confused. Do you know about his commentary on China? I want to get to Iran in a moment, but can you assess the president this week on the world stage?
I think the president's position towards China remains lost and confused, Maria. As you said in the 60 Minutes interview last week, he yet again said that the United States would come to Taiwan's aid militarily if the Chinese communists go for the jugular against that free island. Yet again, for the fourth time in just 13 months, anonymous White House aides rushed to walk back that statement, which is the worst of both worlds. The president provokes the Chinese communists without deterring them. And I think that's been consistent in his approach to China and Russia for the first 2 years of his administration. Throughout 2021, he projected weakness, which enticed Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. And he's projected weakness towards China as well, making the Western Pacific much more dangerous. Now, I, for one, think he stumbled onto the right policy for once in saying that we would come to Taiwan's aid. Unfortunately, he picked himself up and dusted himself off and moved right along as if it had never happened.
Well, I mean, do you find it odd that Biden's State Department issued visas for two of our most important and serious adversaries? You've got the person that openly threatens the world with nuclear weapons residing at the UN Security Council. That is Sergei Lavrov. We issued him a visa to come to the UN meeting. We also issued a visa to the head of Iran, as they have fatwas on the back of Mike Pompeo and John Bolton as he tries to get back into the nuclear deal. Before I get to what's going on this morning in Iran, your thoughts on issuing these visas?
Yes, Maria, those visas are disappointing. Many members of Congress, including myself, had urged the president not to issue those visas, especially for the Iranian president. This man is a mass murderer. He was hand-selected by the supreme leader to be a potential replacement at a time when you say, Maria, the Iranian government is openly trying to assassinate former American officials like Mike Pompeo or Robert O'Brien or John Bolton, at a time when they almost succeeded in finally assassinating Salman Rushdie on our soil. Yet the president and the State Department went forward with these visas as if the Iranian president is just the normal head of state of a normal nation, not the theocratic leader of an outlaw regime.
Unbelievable. I know that you spoke about Iran on the floor of the Senate this week on Wednesday, and I want to get your take on what's going on right now. You've got protesters in the street. We understand that the leader of Iran is at death's door, and they're chanting death to the supreme leader. Is this a moment to get back into the Iran deal?
No, Maria, of course not. This is a moment to stand with the people of Iran, both because they deserve freedom from these theocratic dictators and because it would be in America's interests if the Ayatollahs no longer govern Iran. Yet Joe Biden is doing in these protests exactly what Barack Obama did in the summer of 2009 during the Green Revolution protest. He is standing idly by because he doesn't want to offend the Ayatollahs as he's trying to pursue this reckless nuclear deal. What we should do is announce our support for them, impose new sanctions on those who are murdering innocent protesters in the streets, and to say that under no terms will we re-enter this nuclear deal. Not now, not in the future. We need to support these protesters who are in the streets chanting death to the dictator, not the Ayatollahs who still chant death to America.
Well, is this exactly what President Obama did? I mean, let's face it, the same team that worked for Obama is now working for Biden, and they're doing the same thing that Obama did. We also understand that there are rumors in Washington that Valerie Jarrett is on her way back, and she's going to become the new chief of staff for Joe Biden.
It is exactly what President Obama did in 2009 when he stood idly by during the Green Revolution protest. I want all your viewers to know, though, that was not an example of a new president being naive or innocent or caught flat-footed. That was an example of President Obama ruthlessly pursuing his far-left ideological goals. He thought America was to blame for the decades of tension between the United States and Iran, and if America would only atone for our supposed sins and pull in our horns and not take actions like supporting peaceful protesters against the Ayatollahs, then Iran would respond in kind. We saw that what that got us. And Iran racing towards nuclear weapons under President Obama and now President Biden, as well as spending hundreds of millions of dollars to spread terror throughout the world and even to assassinate American citizens on American soil.
Unbelievable. It's all part of this green agenda, and I don't understand why this administration keeps pushing this climate change agenda when at the end of the day, all of these things that they're talking about will be made in China. So you've got batteries and you've got electric vehicle components all made in China. It's almost like a giveaway. Cut off oil companies in America, but give the money to Chinese Communist Party members?
Yeah. Maria, the Biden administration and the Democratic Party's push for so-called green or clean energy is a massive strategic blunder at the same time that they're strangling American fossil fuel production. We are the world's dominant producer of oil, gas, and coal, and the world needs those energy supplies. It's not just for our economy, it's for our jobs as we send them abroad. Yet the administration is doing everything they can to hamstring fossil fuel production. By contrast, China is the world's dominant producer of so-called green or clean energy, and we are going to massively reward them at a time when even China recognizes that they need fossil fuels. They're building more coal-fired and gas-fired utilities, more natural gas storage facilities, opening more coal mines than almost the rest of the world can combine, because they're not fools. But the Biden administration and the Democratic Party is enthralled to this ideological vision that they can rely only on wind and solar power, not on fossil fuels that the United States and the world needs to continue to power economic growth.
And at the same time, China is buying all of this land in America close to military bases. Can you stop it?
Well, I've introduced legislation to do so, and if we win back the Congress in November, I intend to stop it next year. There's two main concerns here, Maria. First is some of this land is near military bases, like in North Dakota, that have very sensitive operations. And China can say all they want, that they're not putting any kind of intelligence or surveillance equipment in that land, but the only way to be sure is to ban the sale of land to Chinese communists. And second, China can't feed itself. It has never been able to feed itself in modern times. That is a massive strategic advantage that the United States has over China. We are the world's breadbasket. We feed not only ourselves, but much of the rest of the world. Why would we surrender that advantage to Chinese communists by allowing them to buy our farmland? We shouldn't allow it.
You've also gone one step further when it comes to universities and talking about the fact that the intellectual property theft continues. Joe Biden canceled the China initiative, so we don't have any way to indict those people who are actually in charge of surveillance campaigns from the CCP. What do you want to do in terms of innovation and universities that are allowing potential Chinese spies in there to go back with intellectual property to the CCP?
Well, canceling the China initiative is just one more example of how President Biden is appeasing the Chinese communists. The China initiative was an effort under the Trump administration by the Department of Justice and the FBI to identify and prosecute and then expel Chinese spies, whether they are working in Washington, D.C., conducting classic espionage, or whether they're working in our national labs or major university labs that are federally funded in part to try to steal all of that cutting-edge research. And they should reinstate it, and we simply should not allow Chinese communists to be involved in cutting-edge advanced research in our national labs and universities.
All right, Senator, it's great to catch up with you this morning. Thanks very much for your leadership. We'll keep watching all of that. Senator Tom Cotton joining us this morning in Arkansas, and we'll be right back.